In this video, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite games of all time, why I love it, and what it means to me. That game is Skyrim. Skyrim has always been special to me. Very few games have ever made me feel the same way, and while I'll admit a lot of that is nostalgia, for me it's as close to a perfect game as it gets. Let me tell you about my story with Skyrim. When I was younger, my experience with games was pretty limited. I'd played Call of Duty, Halo, and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, but games took me forever to finish because of my strict screen time. No screen time during the week, an hour and a half on a Friday, and 2 hours on a Saturday. And the most annoying part? Sunday was a no screen day. That always pissed me off, but looking back, I'm grateful for the time I spent with my family. Most of the games I played didn't let you interact much with the world. You couldn't just pick up any random item, but one day after school, we went home with my sister's friend, and her stepdad had Skyrim. He let me try it out, and it absolutely blew my 12-year-old mind. I could choose my own race, make my own character, and even pick dialogue options. That alone felt revolutionary for me. The intro was incredible. I remember grinning ear to ear when I saw that dragon. Now, I was used to playing on Xbox and this was on PC, so the controls were a nightmare for me, but I eventually made it to Riverwood and I remember picking up everything pots, knives, forks because I was so impressed by the level of interactivity. Before I knew it, I was overencumbered and walking slow as hell. That was it for the day. Time to go home. I couldn't wait to tell my friends at school about what I'd just seen, and I couldn't shut up about it to my dad on the car ride home. Sadly, it was a while before I saw Skyrim again. We lived in a rural area with no real internet access. Hell, I didn't even play my first online game until I was 17. But word of Skyrim spread fast. People were saying that you could dual wield weapons, fight dragons, and do all kinds of crazy things. Eventually, one of my friends got a copy. I remember going to his house and we'd stay up all night playing it. We didn't even care that it was single player. The adventures we had were amazing, and we'd talk about them at school, telling everyone about what we had done. I visited often, leveling up and questing with my orc character. Those weekends were some of the best gaming experiences of my life. Eventually, I got my hands on a copy of Skyrim. I had all the DLC thanks to my friend. Back then, one disc could be shared among friends, so if someone got the DLC, everyone did. You could negotiate who would buy what. It was a golden era of gaming. I remember always smelling my new game cases. The new game smell just hit different. One of my other friends also had an Xbox, and when his sister went to university, we moved his TV into her room and played Skyrim side by side. We set it up so we could see both screens at once, and we could play for hours and hours. Whenever something cool would happen, one of us would pause our game and watch the other screen. For example, a fight with a dragon, or a funny thing like stealing everyone's clothes. If I remember correctly, we got all the way past level 60, and no, we didn't use any funny potion exploits. When I got to high school, Skyrim was the main talking point of our group. Everyone had their stories. Some bragged about riding dragons, others talked about being vampire lords. Me, I always sided with the Dawn God. Those crossbows were just too good, and who doesn't want to hunt vampires? Funny enough, even after all these years, I've still never taken the vampire route. Because we still didn't have reliable internet, everything you found was by yourself. Videos on how to get Daedric artifacts were shared via Bluetooth. I was lucky enough to get one from my friend, and soon enough I had all those sweet Daedric artifacts. Thereafter, I was homeschooled. I didn't see my friends much anymore, but I still had Skyrim. I had a life in that world. I had responsibilities, killing dragons, fighting vampires, retrieving some random lady's ring in a dungeon behind a waterfall. I don't even know how she lost it there, but it was important. And when I wasn't saving the world, I had 3 houses I was building, 2 kids, and a wife. Life was good. And the exploration in Skyrim was one of the best feelings. I would stumble on some dungeon, bandit camp, side mission, or interesting NPC and be entertained for hours. One of my most memorable moments was when bandits kidnapped my wife and had to go save her. I can't remember if it was an actual spouse mission or just something that happened with the NPC I'd married. But either way, it was an interesting story to share with my digital children around the dinner table. Later on, I visited a friend who had a gaming PC and he had modded Skyrim. All I can say is, that was no longer the Skyrim I knew. I always wondered if I had a PC, could I have gotten even more out of Skyrim? I only recently got to experience mods on Xbox Series S, but it's still not the same as on PC. I honestly thought I was done with Skyrim until last year when I started my YouTube channel. I decided to try Legendary Survival Mode, and damn, I don't regret it. Survival mode changes everything. You have to plan your gear, pick the right clothes for the cold, and use towns as safe havens to rest, gather food, and prepare for your journeys, since there's no fast traveling. Even combat requires strategy. Sometimes it's better to avoid fights, lure enemies into town, or pick them off one by one with guerrilla tactics. This would be much easier if I was a stealth archer, but I like pain and I'm a melee build. Right now, I have an ally and an undying dog from a date request. Sure, he barks constantly and pushes me around, but in combat, he's a lifesaver. My only complaint with Legendary Survival is that enemies have so much health that sometimes it feels like I'm just standing behind my ally, letting him do all the work. But regardless, it's been a breath of fresh air, and I'm so happy I'm playing Skyrim again. I got myself the Anniversary Edition, so there is new content that I've never seen before. There are actually a lot of quests I somehow missed. The last quest I was busy with, I stumbled into a dungeon where necromancers were trying to summon the Wolf Queen. My allies and I had a tough fight with the Draugr and the necromancers, and luckily we stopped the summoning. I hope. They also added fishing, which I enjoyed way more than I thought I would. Also, I'd never cooked in Skyrim, and damn, there are so many cool recipes I would have never used if I wasn't playing on survival mode. Even just smaller locations that seem boring or useless are far more interesting because there are now little hubs where I can recuperate. I find myself stopping and talking to NPCs I usually would have dismissed. I love Skyrim, it's one of the best games I've ever played, and I'm grateful to have played it. Now, I can obviously see its flaws, and there are a lot of them. A lot of the criticism this game and Bethesda get is 100% valid, and I often wonder what it would have been like if I had played Morrowind or Oblivion. But even today, if you ask me, I'll still tell you it's one of the greatest games ever made. I would also be very interested to know which Elder Scrolls game was your first. I just recently started playing Morrowind for the first time and I'm really liking the exploration. I just don't really like the combat too much. I would love to try Oblivion, but for some reason it isn't available on the Xbox Store in South Africa, so I'll probably have to wait for that rumored remake. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.